Welcome into another episode of Two Guys and a Mic, brought to you by Jim Enton Sports. That is Tony. That is Mike below me. Mike is back from the honeymoon. Obviously, Matt is still recovering.
He still can't walk.
Yeah, he's definitely not shitting right. Anyways, guys, week 9 is in the books. Lots to talk about. There is some good stuff going on.
My favorite week of the season.
Yeah, we officially have.
Real quick, I thought last week was the injury week. This week there was more key injuries, I think.
I don't know about key.
But I don't know about key.
But more long-term injuries, you could say.
Maybe. But I want to kind of start off with CJ Stroud. That's the guy I want to talk off. You know, with all the hype around all these other quarterbacks, dude, CJ Stroud kind of went like a little, under the radar. And Houston is quietly 4-4. They were awful last year. I think having that new coaching staff over there is doing them wonders. But right now, CJ Stroud, guys, he's 7th in total yards passing, 8th in TDs, and he is 4th in quarterback rating. He has a 14-1 TD ratio, the interception ratio right now, which is you just don't hear that very often coming from rookies. So my question to you guys is this just not enough tape on CJ Stroud? Is this him showing what he's going to be? What do you guys have on this?
100% real deal. I've been a Stroud believer before he came into the league. And I was like, when that article came out 2 weeks ago that the Raiders were trying to get Stroud, blah, 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 I was pissed because that's what I wanted to happen, dude. I don't want Young. I wanted Stroud. He's great to watch in college. And I was like, that's going to translate to the NFL well. And look at him. Look at what he's doing with the Texans, man. It's just he is elevating their team. He knows what it takes to be an elite quarterback. I'll even say he is the best rookie quarterback performance ever. I mean, I only looked in the past 20 years. Wow. I got to keep going deeper. But as a rookie who has started out straight out of the draft and performing, yes, he's had some down games. But I mean, if you look at him so far, he's been way more up than down for a rookie. And so the performance that he had last week, or yesterday, no, last week, 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, like that's not been done before. And so if you look in the past 20 years, Ben Roethlisberger and Andrew Luck are the only 2 quarterbacks that started as rookies that you could say came close to what Stroud is doing and will achieve by the end of the season if he remains healthy. Right, Roethlisberger has that 13, I went 13-0 as a rookie starter. Cool, but you only had like 2,600 yards, and you had 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Andrew Luck, he was average. It was 11-5, but he had like 4,300 passing yards, and he had like 18 interceptions. Yeah, 18 interceptions. And so Stroud, if he keeps this up, man, all he has to do is double his touchdown count, keep his interceptions low, and keep throwing over 250, and he'll be the best rookie quarterback starter to ever play the game. I'm not saying he's the best ever, but he's great.
And he's doing this with not like a ton of talent around him. I mean, he's got Nico Collins, who had been very quiet beforehand. He's working with the rookie and Tate Dell. I think they got Schultz over there as this tight end. They don't have a running game. They have no running game. Like
none.
I was gonna say Singletary because that's who started this week. But their running game has been non-existent pretty much. He hasn't done anything.
But that's helped him, in my opinion.
Well, Pierce is averaging 3 yards a carry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was out this week hurt. Bring in Devin Singletary. He's not that back that's going to sit there and rush the ball, 25 times for 150 yards. Like
no, Singletary is a complimentary back.
Yeah. Yep. So who do you think's the number 1 in this offense? Is it Nico Collins or is it Tank Dell?
Collins.
I think it's kind of like a 1A, 1B. It's kind of like one
Smith
guy will have a really good week.
Yeah.
And next week it'll be someone else. I will say I feel like Nico Collins has been the more consistent wide receiver as far as that goes, but I do believe it's kind of like a more like they don't really necessarily have like that number 1 guy.
Yeah.
But
to me, it's like Smith, Brown, Waddle, Hill. Like it's that type of wide receiver duo and such young wide receivers too. So to watch that happen, I'm excited to see where the Texans go from here on out. Very young squad. They don't have to pay anybody massive contracts anytime soon. Let's go Texans, man.
D'Amico Ryan's got he's got a nice young group there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but I think he's the clear front runner right now for MVP for Rookie of the Year.
Oh, 100%. Nothing. Nobody. 100%. Nobody's been better than him.
But I saw a thing that was saying in 8 career games he already has more touchdowns than Pickett.
I called that guy as a bust. I
don't think he's a bust, Scott. No. I think it's the Steelers. I don't think Pickett's a bust at all. I think it's the Steelers.
Nope. I think it's Pickett. I've watched enough of it. I've watched him play enough to know that he's not necessarily bad, but he's also not. I just don't think he's that guy that's going to take your team to the next level.
That could be true, but I think that again, they're not giving him the opportunity to at least prove me wrong. I think he does have an attitude problem for being so young. I think he still has a lot more to prove, but I think he's when he does make it happen, he makes it happen. But I think they got to give him that opportunity, man. They have to.
I'd say their running game situation comparing Texans to Steelers is the same, comparable. I think Pickett's working with better receivers, though.
Oh, yeah. Pickett's working with better receivers, but he can't make anything happen.
Exactly.
So going on from there, guys, I kind of want to piggyback this onto a rookie. The talent is there. I don't know what's going on with the usage, but I feel like Atlanta is pulling a Detroit. And what's going on with Bijan, guys? He only rushed the ball 13 times this last week to Algiers 14. Like I don't understand. You waste a top 10 pick on Bijan and you give him the ball 13 times.
Yep.
Like and it hasn't just been just this week. It's been week after week after week. I used to just bust Matt balls about this at the beginning. I was like, "Oh, Al Jair, he had a great year last year. Is going to be a committee, blah blah blah." And he used to get so pissed off at me when I would say that. But I used to just be joking around. I figured maybe like the first game or two, whatever. But we're halfway through this season, and for whatever reason, the Falcons are still like just throwing out. They're just like they're almost taking like trading off series. And I don't agree with it. I think Bijan is the much better talent. He's your top 10 pick, and I think you freaking use that guy. And Atlanta is not. They're trending downwards. They started off pretty good, and they are just trending down.
I think Arthur Smith is a problem. 100% the problem. I feel like he has no idea what he's doing. When you compare the Texans and the Falcons, I think so. We talked about this when we did our preseason week by week dive. Like we didn't know anything about the Texans or the Falcons. But the commonality was they were both young teams, and all they had to do, the only place that they had to go was up, right? And I feel like somehow the Falcons found a way to go down. Like I don't understand what's going on with that offense.
You have a mid-season coach or mid-season quarterback change?
Yeah. Oh, you have to. Ritter sucks, man. Ritter's not good. But I don't even know if it's his fault. He's not good, but I don't think they're scheming to allow him to grow or make mistakes to grow. He's just playing bad. I think their OC's bad, their play calling's bad, Arthur Smith's bad. That coaching staff just sucks.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that, Tony. And speaking about coaches, I keep hearing a lot about Matt LaFleur going bye-bye in Green Bay. And I will say his play calling has sucked, and it's shown because even when Aaron Rodgers was there wasn't much to show for it. But is this also a combination of LaFleur's play calling and Jordan Love just sucking? Or like,
I think Jordan Love is going to be the reason that LaFleur gets fired, but this whole point up to Jordan Love's poor performance has not helped LaFleur at all. So he's been detrimental to himself. I think it just stacks on to how bad he is as a coach and a play caller. And Aaron Rodgers on the way out really left a bad taste, not in just his mouth, but in the fans' mouth. A lot of people didn't like the way that was handled. I mean, Green Bay's fucking known for handling really elite quarterbacks awfully. And LaFleur is going to go down for it. That's my opinion.
Mike?
Here's my question. If you're Green Bay, what do you do?
In which situation?
At the quarterback situation.
They fucked up. The bottom line is they made a mistake, and they're going to have to figure something out. I don't know if it's going to have to be through free agency and bring in a veteran and instead. I don't really feel like Green Bay is necessarily set up right now to win. They do have a pretty good defense. They got some young wide receivers. Mm-hmm. The running back situation is not very good. They're going to need to bring in another running back. A.J. Dillon, I know, was drafted to eventually be that guy. He's not going to be that guy. He's not very good. Aaron Jones is getting a little bit older. Yeah, he's going to be 28, or is he already 28? He's in that range of where running backs do start to fall off. I do know that.
Well, Dillon didn't have that bad of a year last year, but he's definitely gone down from where he was last year.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, people were drafting him high in drafts. When I say high, it's like mid-tier, like 5. No, I think I can go like 6, 7, but that's still pretty high for the way his performance is this season.
Yeah,
I feel like with Green Bay, it's like cyclical almost. Like, they're in that state where their running backs are aging, and they don't rotate them out or even try to go after a new running back. In like, they had a Cheeseburger Eddie for so long. Yeah, they had him for so long, and he just got old and lazy, and Aaron Rodgers couldn't really do anything with him. And their wide receivers aged, and then their coaching staff just kind of turned out, and I think they just fell down the hill from there. So when I think, like, when I say it's cyclical, they're running into that same situation again where they're letting the running backs age. Their wide receivers are young, but their quarterback sucks. Like, I feel like they made a mistake at Jordan Love. I don't know why people thought he was going to be good. Why? Yeah. Played behind Aaron Rodgers. Fuck.
So, guys, I want to kind of go into a little segment about the 3 teams, because I really want your guys' opinions on these teams now that we're talking about teams that might be falling off, or like who they are. Miami, Seattle, Buffalo. Now, I want to start off with Miami. Okay. Miami is a fraud in my opinion at this point. I understand they have one of the greatest offenses. There's no denying their offense is good. I thought they were going to get a lot better once Ramsey came back from injury. I thought, okay, that's going to shore up, their defense a little bit, and this offense now can just continue to steamroll people. Let me rattle off their wins and losses. Wins, all against teams with losing records: Chargers, New England twice, Denver, Giants, Carolina. All teams. Chargers are decent.
Chargers are the best team on that list.
Yep.
Yes, and even them, they still have a losing record. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, losses: Buffalo, Philadelphia, Kansas City. All teams with winning records. So the fact is that now that we're halfway through the season, you've only played 3 teams with a winning record.
He lost.
And he lost to all 3 of them. And all 3 of them weren't like, oh man, that was a good game. Like, you lost. You were losing the entire game. Like, you straight up lost. There was no like, oh, we're getting.
I honestly don't know how they lost against the Chiefs. 21 points with that offense, and they held the Chiefs to 21 points. And
because
Miami puts up 14.
All right. What is also the same thing about each 3 of those teams that they lost to? What's the one thing each of those teams have in common? They can all play defense.
Yeah. They shut down Hill. If you take away Hill, I don't think their offense is.
Yeah, Hill
75% of what it could be.
Hill went 8 for 62. Now, Waddle was hurt for part of the game too.
Yeah,
again, that's happened back-to-back weeks on them, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you got to be able to win.
Their offense is still built kind of around the running game, and Mostert had a pretty decent game.
12 for 85.
They're
Yeah.
the high school bully beating up a middle school kid, and then a bigger high school kid comes out and it's like, "Hey, what's up?" And they get like, "Oh shit, they can't beat them." Like
Yeah.
they're not. I don't know, man. I was hyped on on Miami offense, and when we saw them play a real team for the first time, I was like, "Oh, everyone was let down, dude." And that was 3 times in a row. It's like you guys can't even put those numbers up against somebody good, and then we'll take you seriously. But not anymore, bro. It's fun to watch when you're demolishing shitty teams, but it's not gonna get you anywhere.
Now, I will say this though: have you looked at their remaining schedule?
I have not.
Mm-mm.
Raiders, Jets, Commanders, Titans, Jets, Cowboys, Ravens, Bills.
With the with the way that the Raiders defense is playing, I don't know, man. It's gonna be a close game. I don't think they'll blow us out.
Please
I
talk
could
now.
see the Dolphins winning 1, 2, 3, 4 the next 5 games and then losing the final 3.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I could see too.
And they
but
lose which means they would lose the Cowboys, they'd lose the Ravens, and lose the Bills.
now with
Which
football,
Probably
any-
brings us to your next team that you wanted to go over with the Bills.
Well,
Yeah.
well, no. What I was going to say is that it's any given Sunday as well.
It is.
They could potentially lose to one of those lower. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think it's going to happen because that offense is just. I feel like it's against those type of defenses. It's just going to score enough points for them to win. But and the problem with the division that they're in, no one's winning. You know, the Jets lost tonight to the Chargers. Well, this will be uploaded on Tuesday, but you know, the Jets losing to the Chargers Monday night when they had an opportunity to go ahead and gain on both the teams ahead of them. I'm kind of like I was really rooting for the Jets, but I felt like this was their week to prove like, okay, we can step up, and they didn't do it.
They didn't.
But that brings me up to the second team I want to talk about is Buffalo. Buffalo is such a good team, but for whatever reason, they are just inconsistent week to week. Like they look like a Super Bowl contending team one week, and then the next week you're like, who are these guys? Listen to their listen to these losses. All right, they lost to the Jets, okay, which is a divisional game. Understandable.
And that was the game that first game when Aaron Rodgers popped his Achilles at the very
Yeah. So as soon as he went down, everybody was like, "Oh, Bills won." Bye.
Yep.
And then everyone sat up. It's like, what?
Yep. And that Josh Allen had 4 turnovers?
Yep.
That he had what you call a Josh Allen game.
Yep.
Yeah.
He played like Josh Allen and beat Josh Allen.
They lost to Jacksonville, who they feel they should be better than Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a good team, but they lost to Jacksonville. They lost to New England. 2-7.
I don't get it.
You know, and then they lost to Cincinnati, which is understandable. They've only beaten one team with a winning record, and that was Miami week 4.
Yep.
So for me, it's like who do you guys think Buffalo is? Are they that contending team? Are they just really good on paper? Is it the coaching? Is it maybe some attitude going on, like all this, you know, about Diggs wanting to leave, you know, this and that? Like, what do you guys think?
They're a great practice team for the team that's in the playoffs going to the Super Bowl. That's it. Like that's all they'll ever be. That's all they'll ever be.
Good way to put it.
They'll make the playoffs and they'll just be there for the whoever's going to win Super Bowl as practice.
Get out of the wild card round, but that's it.
That's it. They'll never accomplish a Super Bowl with the way that they're so inconsistent.
What are they missing though?
I don't know, man.
Consistency. That's literally
consistency.
Okay, going on consistency. Their number 2 receiver.
Kincaid.
Receiver.
Oh well, yeah, obviously.
Mike,
No, I know. Where the hell is Gabe Davis?
Yeah, that guy's never been the answer. He'll
Yeah,
show up. He'll show up.
They
once every
need
6
another
games.
receiver.
Yeah, and I think we had talked about this. We had said Buffalo was one of the teams that should go out and look for a wide receivers because they do need another one. Like I think Gabe Davis is really good in the red zone, but outside of the red zone, he's not really like that guy. I feel like they just constantly are just feeding Diggs.
Now, are they afraid of the animosity it would cause with another receiver in Diggs?
So what? You're trying to win a game.
I think Diggs
Bottom
understands that
line,
at this point. I think Diggs understands that at this point because Diggs he's openly frustrated with the Buffalo Bills' inability to win games, especially like the easy games that you should be winning, like the Jets and the Patriots. But I think he has to get over that. If it is true that he's like, oh, I want to be the star. Fuck it. If Justin Jefferson frees up and they don't franchise tag him, and they get Justin Jefferson and have Diggs, I think they win the Super Bowl. Like I agree. They could win the Super Bowl. They have the ability to, but they just can't get over that final hump. And they can always make it there. They just can never get over it.
Yeah.
Here, wins or losses on these? Broncos.
Win.
I don't know. You know what? Hold on. I take it back. With the way that they're going to lose to the Broncos for some fucking random reason.
Jets in Buffalo.
They'll win them this time. They'll beat them this time.
Win.
Eagles.
Loss.
Chiefs.
Loss.
Cowboys.
Loss.
Yeah.
Chargers.
Win.
Yeah, win.
Patriots.
Win.
Dolphins.
Loss.
They got some tough games.
And you know what? And we're talking about how they could potentially miss the playoffs even if they do finish second in their division. We'll get to that later on. But Seattle's the other team I want to discuss. And Seattle is another team where, like, they were expected to take a step forward, and they've been inconsistent against good teams too. So they've lost to the Rams. They've lost to the Bengals. They didn't just lose to the Ravens. I mean, they got their shit pushed in. But then they win in Detroit. They beat Cleveland in Seattle.
I honestly think. Go ahead,
Seattle is the same thing with, I believe, that people are going to say about the Niners. Geno Smith wasn't the answer when they thought Geno Smith was the answer.
Yep.
And Geno Smith, mark my words right now, Geno Smith is going to be the downfall of the Seattle. And I do not think that they win the division either. I know some people have picked them to win the division. I do believe the 49ers will find themselves again in the second half. They're going to be just fine. But I think Seattle is going to end up just squeaking in. Like last year, they're going to squeak in as a wild card team.
Yep.
Geno Smith is having a Geno Smith season.
Yes.
Last year
was an anomaly.
Yes.
Well, it's not even just that. They're an average team. If you look at their receiving core, like in whole, they got elite receivers. Like Tyler Lockett, he may be old, but he's still one of the best wide receivers.
He'll throw up that game with 140 yards and 2 touchdowns on like 4 catches.
DK Metcalf can make magic happen. You got JSN who can do like.
And JSN is coming on now.
It's Geno that can't make things happen, and they have no running backs. Like I don't think Walker's good. He's not good.
Charbonnet has been non-existent.
Non-existent.
There was a lot of hype on Charbonnet.
The problem has been Charbonnet's touches, but when given opportunity, he has been actually pretty efficient with the ball. He has
another Bijan situation.
It's not another Bijan situation because Kenneth Walker had earned that right to keep the starting job. But Charbonnet has slowly actually been taking touches. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year, Charbonnet ends up being the starting running back. I wouldn't be surprised. He has been more efficient with the ball. Kenneth Walker last year looked so good because he kept having all those. He'd sit there and break a 60-yard touchdown. You know what I mean? And then he'd go rest of the game. He'd go 15 for 45.
That's what Fournette used to do.
Yeah. So now that he's not having those games where he's breaking off that long one, that 3 to 3.3 yards a carry is not gonna help Seattle any. So, I want to say Charbonnet somewhere is between like a 4.5 and a 4.7. I could be wrong, but off the top of my head, that's where I believe he is his rushes. But now I want to get off of this. So we kind of agree Seattle is just that Buffalo is Buffalo's going to be Buffalo. They're going to be what they do year in, year out, even though every year we expect them to not do it. And then Miami's a fraud. They're just going to be a fun team.
So who wins that division?
Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Miami wins that division. Just based off of just the schedule that you were just talking about.
Yeah, with Buffalo's inconsistency, Mayhem was that division.
So with Buffalo having that really tough schedule, and no one else really in the AFC, if you think about it, no one else is really in the. So in the you have Buffalo with a winning record, and then all the other winning records outside of first place belong in the AFC North. You got the Ravens 7-2, Browns, Steelers, Bengals all 5-3. Now I will say the Steelers are a team that should not be 5-3. They've been outscored on the year by 30 points. They're another team that's just inconsistent. They've actually been outgained yardage wise every game this season. They should not. They have no business being 5-3. I don't know how they are.
They should be 2-6.
Yeah. They could easily be 3-5. You know what I mean? So I do take the Steelers out, but I do believe Bengals, Browns, Ravens all make playoffs. What do you guys think?
All of them?
Not Steelers.
Okay, I thought you said Steelers. I was about to say,
No.
Steelers are the worst team in that division, but even though they can hold their own sometimes.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like if Buffalo ends up falling off, like what Mike was saying, with their schedule, they could almost go 500 with their schedule the rest of the year.
Yeah,
I don't know if that would get them necessarily into the playoffs. They might, because
you know what's crazy is the freaking Browns, dude. Like I don't get it. I don't understand how they're holding themselves up.
Because this is what happens when you build an elite defense, Tony. They can hide the situations,
the garbage on offense.
Yeah, and they are.
I'm looking at the division records of just the teams in the AFC North. Bengals are 0-2.
Yeah, that happened. So the first 2 weeks, this is something we talked about.
Because they started off 1-3, and they're on a 4-game winning streak. Yeah, Pittsburgh right now is 2-0 in the division.
Yeah. By the end of that, I don't
It'll change.
Yeah, it's going to change. You have to remember, Cincinnati had to play the Ravens and I think the Browns the first 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah.
And they were, with Burrow being hurt, they weren't going to win those games. We even said it. They're probably going to start 0-2.
And I'm excited to see in 2 weeks when they play the Ravens with Burrow full health. So I don't know. Well, I don't know. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that when we talked about this. Like, did you guys watch the game?
Which one?
The Bengals game.
This last week?
Yeah. Yesterday. No. So Burrow at the end of the game, was like, I don't know, maybe the end of the third quarter. I don't know. End of the game, he bust his hand. I don't know if he got it caught. In between two helmets or how, but he busted his finger, like it was bleeding like savagely, and he just kept fucking picking at it. Like it was hurting him. You could tell because he was doing this, wiping it. There was blood all over his
throwing hand or non-throwing hand.
Throwing hand, and so he was kept wiping it. They were trying to not the word desanitize. I don't know. They were doing something to it on the sidelines for like the whole drive that the Bills were on. And you could tell he was in some pain. But the thing that they talked about for like a microsecond and they didn't pick up on it again was that he had a heating pad on his calf. I wonder, I don't know if he is aggravating that injury or if he is going to be re-injured, but they talked about it. They pointed the camera at the leg for like 3 seconds. They were like, oh, there's a heating pad. Okay, bye. I'm like, that could be a big deal, guys.
So I will say this, Tony. I've pulled my calf muscle actually twice on my right side. The one thing about the calf muscle is I feel like it's the easiest thing to re-aggravate. And I do feel like he was probably pretty close to being 100%. But the weather's changing now. And when you come fresh off of an injury like that, off of a pulled muscle, and it's cold outside, it can make it very tough to play on. They might have a heating pad on as precautionary reasons, not because
I get it, but it could still be re-injured. I mean, you said it right there, like it's easy to re-injure, especially with the weather changing, and they play in one of the coldest areas. Like it could be re-injured. I guess that's the thing. You're watching it happen. If we saw how he played with it injured, even if it brings him down to 75%, we saw how Joe Burrow plays with that calf. Doesn't push off. He stands different. In the game, they even showed two different scenes they showed him standing with the calf injury versus with that playing that night last night, and when he pushes off, his leg is straight. With the injury, his leg plays sideways. And towards the end of the game yesterday, his leg was shifting sideways. So that's why they put the heating. They were like, "Oh, he's wearing a heating pad." I was like, "Oh shit!" If he gets re-injured, Bengals could start going downhill again. Especially with Jamar Chase's injury as well. His back.
Yeah, Jamar Chase hurt his back. Yep. You know, saying it was super sore, and
he hit the ground hard. Even the announcer was like, "He's gonna feel that one in the morning."
Yeah. I think he'll be fine. He'll be all right. But yeah, okay. Well, Tony, with the update, we'll keep an eye on that. So speaking about injuries, let's get into. I want to talk about Cam Akers just for a second before we jump into the other big guy, because we got a lot to talk about on that one. But Cam Akers, man, poor guy. Just like J.K. Dobbins, I think this could end up being a career killer. He tore now his other Achilles. I mean, it's one thing to come back from one Achilles tear, but then to tear your other one, it's just he's going to be at least a year out of football. Try to come back. You were already being a backup in Minnesota. I just feel like that might be.
I don't get it, man. What is it? What is causing these people to tear that? This is like what, the 5th Achilles tear this season?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it.
Where was that? Where was that game played at yesterday?
I want to say it was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was in Atlanta. It was in Atlanta.
Either way, turf. Aaron Rodgers. Turf.
Yep.
Cam Akers, the first time. Turf. Was that on turf?
I don't know.
But
I have to go back and look.
A lot of players have been a little bit more open about them saying
we've talked about this before.
They criticized turf. Oh yeah, they're open about it now. I think that's going to be a conversation in the offseason. If we see another Achilles tear, it's done, dude. Like, NFL's got to do something.
Was it last year or 2 years ago? It was all ACLs on turf.
Yeah. I mean, Kirk Cousins just tore his, you know?
Yeah, that's a big one, dude. And Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins going down, like, that's your team. That's your season. Like, your running back, you could come back from, right? You may not even feel it. But your quarterbacks, you're done, dude. Like, that's a whole fucking season. Like, if I'm an owner, I'd be like, get that turf off my fucking field, bro.
All right. Now, guys, the man of the hour that I really want to talk about, because, and I think even Giants fans know signing him was a waste, but holy shit, Daniel Jones is taking the Giants to the cleaners, and he's not even going to have to play. So, Mike, I know you got all the information on the cap space. Talk about this contract, Mike, and how bad it's going to be now that this injury has happened.
Giants just completely boned themselves. And we talked about it before, how bad this contract was. So this year, I mean, obviously this year is gone. Talk about next year. It's a $47.1 million cap hit. If they are to just say bye.
And it's fully guaranteed.
If they are to just tell him bye, $69.3 million dead cap.
Oh, well, okay. So in 2 years, what's his cap hit?
So 2025, it's a $41.6 million cap hit with 22.2 in dead. 2026, it's a $58.6 million cap hit with only 11.1 dead. Now there is some light in the tunnel for the Giants. They can get out of his contract after next year,
which I believe they will.
Oh yeah, I do too. They at that point, the out after next year would be then a $22.2 million cap hit.
Yeah, because that's going to save them. Technically, it's actually going to save them $19 million on cap space if they were to do that. Instead of paying Daniel Jones the $41.6 million, take the $22.2 in dead money. You're probably still not going to be you're probably still not going to be competing at that time. Like, Barkley's already going to be at that age where he's not going to carry your offense.
Do you think they get a quarterback in the draft? Because they're going to have a high draft pick. Do you think they get a quarterback in the draft next season?
I think they should.
They should.
They should. But who knows? They might just say, you know what, screw this. Let's bring in a veteran. We're tanking again. Maybe because don't forget, they just made the trade with Seattle. They got some extra draft picks.
Mm-hmm. Use those to move up.
Yep. So they got some. They may not necessarily even have to move up. I don't know if they're going to win another game for the remainder of the season. It's very possible they lose out the rest of the season and they get a top 5 pick. Now, they may not get the number 1, but they will still be right there to potentially draft their future quarterback. And I think if they do find a guy in the draft and they do take him, that's all you need to know. The Daniel Jones is going to be gone. Clearly, they're going to opt out. Now, if they don't draft a quarterback and they bring back Daniel Jones for the 2025 season, I don't know. I feel like
he's so bad. I don't understand why they paid him. That's going to be a question I ask the universe when I'm dead.
Yeah.
Well, what did they pay him? Like, what did he have on them? Did he catch somebody doing some fucking dumb shit? And he's like, I got blackmail on you. You're going to pay me. Like, I don't get it, man.
Well, not only that, why do you make the contract fully guaranteed? Like,
yes, why? Bro, he has to have some fucking dirt on the owner, on somebody. He's got dirt. Has to. Or
unless the Giants really believe like what he did last year, going to the playoffs, new coaching, they might have just eaten up their own bullshit and really believe that's who they were. And now they're like, oh, like, you know what I mean?
They didn't have somebody in the fucking office who's like, hey guys, this season was good, but we got to repeat it before we fucking give this guy a fully guaranteed contract because they're fucked.
I would have probably signed Barkley to a contract and hit Jones with the franchise tag.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I personally would have gone about it. But, I'm not a GM. I don't know shit. I'm just some guy that's like, hey, football, you know what I mean? So that's, I don't know. But
real quick, so I looked it up. When Cam Akers tore his first Achilles, it was in LA.
Okay.
So that's was it? Yeah, it was that they played at the Coliseum at that time. They didn't play at SoCal because when Cam Akers was there, when he tore it the first time, it was at the Coliseum. It wasn't.
All right, guys. Let's move on. We got 2 more segments. Real quick. This isn't even going to segment. I just want to say congratulations to Dobbs.
Yeah.
Dude, I am going to be rooting for Minnesota to do good the rest of the year. Now, come playoff time, sorry, Dobbs, hope you throw 16 interceptions. Don't give a shit. But I think this is just
story.
This story is just one of the best stories that has come out of football in a really long time. I mean, he's out there throwing to guys. He doesn't even know their names. He probably only knows a little bit of the playbook. He hadn't taken any snaps from the center. For him
and won the game.
Yeah, for them to do that, or for him to do that, is just, man, dude. You cannot script it any better. And so I just really want to say congratulations to Josh Dobbs, and I hope that maybe Minnesota signs him because I don't think they're going to re-sign Kirk Cousins.
I don't think so either.
And either way, Cousins is not going to get, I think, more than maybe a 2-year deal.
It won't be with Minnesota. I just don't think it'll be with Minnesota anymore. He's a little bit older. He's coming off of now Achilles tear. Who knows when he's going to be fully healthy next year? I just don't think I wouldn't be surprised if Kirk Cousins doesn't sign until training camp with the team. I think they're going to want to see him go through some physical assessments. They're going to want to see his mobility because he already wasn't mobile as it was. So this is going to hurt him even more. I just think that to Minnesota, they got the young wide receivers. Why not pair him up with another young dynamic quarterback? Who that is, I don't know. But if Dobbs can sit there and do well with hockey. I mean, think about it. He's coming from Arizona. The only guy you can really say he's throwing to is Marquise Brown. Now he's throwing to he's throwing to Addison. He's throwing
Hawkinson.
to T.J. Hawkinson. And then once
he's back, you got Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, once Jefferson is back, he's going to be throwing to him, which they did say Justin Jefferson may not be playing in Week 10 either.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to play him in Week 10 honestly, I think they're gonna wait as long as they can.
Well,
Then,
I was just gonna say, if they're winning without him, why bring him back before he's fully healthy? If they can win games without him, that is just going to be so much better when he does come back.
well, the next 3 games: the Saints, Denver, and Chicago. I don't know if they beat the Saints, but they could beat Denver and Chicago.
Yeah, I think he comes back for the Denver game, but unfortunately, he's going to have to go up against Patrick Surtain over there in Denver. That guy can hang with the best of them. So we'll see how that goes. But last segment, Tony, this is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that the Raiders that we should have been seeing all year? Is that like the true Raiders?
I'll say this much: I'm glad we won. Right, I knew we were gonna win. I told you this on Friday last week, Scott. I said we're gonna win. I just wish it was against a good team because the Raiders were going in with all this momentum, right? Momentum to like have to win. Let's get the IHC, like their first win. Let's get it. Everybody was hyped. Raiders players were hyped. Everybody was on it, and we won. We dominated. But it was the fucking Giants, bro. And they, like, their best thing they did the whole game was, it's sad to say this, but hurt Daniel Jones, right? Like
Daniel Jones hurt himself.
Yeah, I mean, he got scared. He saw Max Crosby coming. But the game itself, like AOC looked like an average rookie quarterback. Like they're gonna play him the rest of the season. AOC is only gonna get better, in my opinion. He didn't throw an interception, which is great. But when we start playing real teams, like that's gonna be a problem. Jacobs was just shoved down the team's throat. Freaking, he had like 26 attempts, 26 rushes for 98 yards. Like, come on, bro. Like he has such a low average. It's not even funny. Like Jacobs is not who he used to be, going from the league rusher last season to nothing this season.
Okay, I will say that about he just had a good year last year. If you look at his career, who he is this year that's who he's been his whole career. I don't know what happened last year. It's I'm on a contract year. All of a sudden I'm good. He had one of those type of years. That happens all the time. You know what I mean? Ask Daniel Jones about that.
Yeah. And I feel like the Raiders. Yeah, I did. I'll say this much: the Raiders' defense has been playing better. Like I know we had 8 sacks, but it was against the Giants, right? But they have been playing better. The Raiders' defense has been playing better than they that they have ever been in the past. Well, not ever, but in the past 20 years, right? 25. Damn, I'm getting old, man. I said 20 years, like 3 years ago, and I was like under 20, and now I'm old. But like 20 years ago, over the past 20 years, our defense has always been garbage. It's always been our weak point. Now we're a back end defense. Everyone's playing to a high caliber compared to what they have been in the past. And I think that's carried us. If they can continue to do that, AOC gets better, starts throwing to Adams more, gets that comfortability built and the connection built. I think that can happen. And if Jacobs gets his feet, can continue to do 26 rushes with freaking 98 yards, I'm cool, 100 yards a game. I don't care how he gets there, as long as he does it. So
yeah, he does. He I think he needs to pick it up as far as his yards per carry. I think it's good that he's able to handle 26 carries because not everyone's built like that. Because eventually one of those is probably going to break off.
Yep. And I feel
like I think didn't he have like a decent touchdown?
15.
Yeah, 15. That was his long.
But it was a good run, right?
Yeah, he has it in him. He's just got to find it. I don't know. I feel like he's still looking for himself. I think the offseason fucked him up mentally in terms of he thought he was going to get paid. He just wanted to. I don't know. I feel like McDaniels fucked a lot of people up mentally. Just the way he probably talked down to people. I don't know. McDaniels, hearing what happened at the meeting 2 weeks ago on why he got fired, hearing what happened and what he said to Pierce in front of everybody. That guy is sits on such a high horse, but does he know he sucks? I don't get it. So I don't know if you guys know what happened, but it is what it is. So it just ridiculous what he said
I've heard all that about how he was defending New England.
Yeah, don't talk about New England like that. The fuck, bro? You're the coach of the Raiders. Don't give a fuck about New England. You just told this guy to give an inspirational speech, and he did, and then you talk down to him in front of everybody because he did what you asked. Fuck up, dude. That's the attitude we don't need.
Who do you guys have next week?
The Jets.
The Jets.
I would say winnable game.
But then we got Chiefs and Miami we got Miami, then Chiefs. But I mean, it's gonna be like then our defense is really gonna be put to the test, right? Then our defense is gonna be put to the test, and our offense.
You know how those divisional games go.
We're always good games against the Chiefs. I'll put it that way. Miami, we might lose, but Chiefs, and if Dobbs plays well, could lose to Minnesota.
Yep. So okay. Well, that concludes this episode. 2 Guys on the Mic. We will be back Friday to go ahead and do a preview of Week 10. Hopefully, Matt will be back by then. If not, then
If not, we'll get him a wheelchair.
I'm that guy.
Yeah. Matt, you've been replaced, bitch. So, anyways, thank you for tuning in. Subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you on the next one.
See ya.